Welcome to Good for Bitcoin, a weekly show recorded live every Friday, where we recap the top events of the week and talk about everything that is good for Bitcoin. If it's built on Bitcoin, then it's good for Bitcoin. Let's get started.
Content shared on this podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It does not constitute financial, investment, or legal advice. The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guests and do not reflect the official policy or position of any other agency, organization, or company. We encourage you to conduct your own research and consult with a qualified professional before making any financial decisions.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Good for Bitcoin. We have a really exciting show today. My name is Brandon, social media manager at Trust Machines, also joined by Kate, who is behind the leather handle. Kate, happy Friday.
GM, guys. Happy Friday.
And Sean Longstreet is here. Sean, happy Friday, sir.
Happy Friday, Kate, Brandon. How are we feeling today on this bullish vibes Friday?
Yeah, I mean, we have 100K Bitcoin is certainly flirting with us today. We'll see. I think last week when we were recording this, we reached a new Bitcoin all-time high while the show was going on. So we'll see if that happens again during this next hour. But yeah, so much to get into. Gensler stepping down, Runes flips BRC20. We have talk of this crypto czar. So lots to get into in terms of news for the week. But before we do that, let's do a quick recap of Leather Lounge that you and Kate hosted. Would love to hear a little bit more about that and the really exciting stuff that's happening with Gated and all the amazing artists that are behind that project.
Yeah, we were catching up with a lot of the Stacks OGs on this project. So Gary Gensler, who has been building on Stacks for several years now, got his start in Stacks building something called Hay Layer, where he was helping to onboard artists who wanted to release digital collectibles. And fast forward to now, he teamed up with Good Kitty, who is a familiar name in the space. Good Kitty has been an arts advocate for a long time, and she has curated, actually this started for her as a D-Grants program. She got funding to put together like a mixtape on Stacks. And so that was just about a year ago that started. She received the funding, and now she's put it all together. She paired 8 artists, 8 musicians, like singer-songwriters, with 8 Stacks OG visual artists, and has created a mixtape. And then she realized that there were some challenges when it came to making the splits happen. And she looked to Gary for help with that because he was really an expert. So he built out a website called Gated.so. And this was just a beautiful collaboration with a lot of the builders in the space. So that is officially live. And I've definitely purchased my my album. It's 80 stacks for the entire album. And it's a beautiful project. This great conglomeration of amazing musicians, artists, and builders doing, really just capturing the great energy and doing what can be, just showing like the best of what we can accomplish in this space. So yeah, head to Gated.so. Follow Good Kitty, Gary Gensler, and check out the show from yesterday, from Tuesday. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I think, we talk about it a lot on this show and on Leather Lounge as well. Like the Stacks community in particular are so supportive of each other. And I think this project is just a really, really great example of, the collaboration across, like you said, Sean, like across more technical people and artists and builders. So really, really cool episode. See some friends in the space as well that are listening in. Want to give a shout out to Peace Love Music down there. Don, who is the GM of .locker, was actually on his show yesterday, speaking a little bit more about .locker. That was a really, really good episode. We'll try to get some of this stuff pinned. But speaking of things that are pinned, for those that are listening, thank you guys so much for tuning in and being here every week. Please retweet the space. We have the pinned sort of announcement tweet up there. Please retweet that for us and help us get some more listeners in here. We definitely appreciate it. And see some other friendly faces down there in the audience. Shaylee, feel free to come up if you want to speak. We got Giga Pepe down there. We got Trippin' Monkey. Got Noodle, I see down there. So lots of familiar faces today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Let's see. We didn't have a ton of product announcements today because we are cooking so many things, and I hesitate to even mention them because I don't know if we want to spoil them yet. But Kate, maybe I can throw it to you if you want to talk maybe a little bit about some of the initiatives that you're working on the community side that we can maybe look forward to in the next few weeks or for the rest of the year.
Yeah, for sure. So we just brought on our first round of leather ambassadors, which is such a cool project we've been working on for a while now. But it's basically those who live and breathe leather already. They're, creating content and sort of like embodying exactly what we believe about the Bitcoin ecosystem. So we're pumped to bring those folks on. Obviously, we'll be sharing more about our plans with that, but we're just kind of in the works on that. But next week, we have some fun giveaways leading into Thanksgiving holiday. And I think December is just going to be a little bit crazy. We have so much going on with leather. Yeah, maybe we shouldn't share too much on that, but lots of fun stuff happening. So definitely make sure you're in our Discord. Follow us here on X. Lots to come.
Yeah, I posted about it the other day, just thinking about all the things that we have planned, and I said that the amount of things that Leather has planned in December is mind-boggling, and it really is. There's going to be stuff happening almost every day, and it's going to be crazy. So, yeah, please make sure that you're following. You're not going to want to miss all the exciting things that are happening. It's going to be a big end of year celebration. I guess we can leave it at that. But yeah, let's get into all the news. I think this is the one that made people maybe the most happy, which is it wasn't a hack. Also, that was like actually the first thing that I thought that it might be is like, oh, he got hacked because we saw what happened with the SEC Twitter before the ETFs got approved. But Gary Gensler has officially announced that he will be stepping down on January 20th, 2025.
Yeah, I also, when I saw this, I thought it was like a Gensler parody account. So this is pretty big news.
Yeah, I assumed that it was a hack, but then he linked to like an official SEC press release on the official SEC website, and I was like, okay, this is probably more legit. But yeah, so I want to point out something that he said, and Sean and Kate, I want to get your reactions. So in the press release of his announcement that he's leaving, it says, under Chair Gensler, the commission continued the work Chair Jay Clayton began to protect investors in the crypto markets. During Chair Gensler's tenure, the agency brought actions against crypto intermediaries for fraud, wash trading, registration violations, and other misconduct. In the last full fiscal year, according to the SEC's Office of the Inspector General, 18% of the SEC's tips, complaints, and referrals were crypto-related, despite crypto markets comprising less than 1% of U.S. capital markets. Court after court agreed with the Commission's actions to protect investors and rejected all arguments that the SEC cannot enforce the law when securities are being offered, whatever their form.
I mean, it doesn't matter what they say to defend themselves. It's insane that they missed SBF, Celsius, and all the other crazy just platforms that were so risky at the time. I mean, they say that they are about protecting investors, but they're not. What they have been doing is pushing innovation out of America. So this is a good sign. I mean, actually, follow-up question: who's Gary Gensler? The name rings a bell, but I don't know. I'm trying to forget about the guy.
Yeah, I mean, he will not be missed by many, that's for sure. Go ahead, Kate.
I really wonder how this all went down because I know Trump was saying day one, I'm going to fire Gary Gensler. But I think if he actually attempted to fire him, there could have been a court battle since I don't think members of regulatory agencies can just be removed like that. So, yeah, I don't know the conversations that were had. I'm sure there's just so much like crypto Bitcoin momentum from the incoming administration that he was like, yeah, I'm out on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think he sees the writing on the wall, and was just like, yeah, it's just it's time for me to go. I think it's so interesting though that they talk about, especially this last sentence, like court after court agreed with the commission's actions. Like XRP, this is a Bitcoin show, right? But like the SEC very handily lost the XRP, argument, right? Like they lost a lot of that. So that's not even true that the court after court agreed with their commission to protect investors. Like they lost many court cases against crypto companies because of their overreach. So yeah, goodbye. I guess won't be missed.
Yeah, as you said, this is the clarity we needed.
This is the clarity we needed. Yeah, I liked that tweet. That was funny.
So then big question is, who is going to replace him? So what are the rumors around that?
That is a good question. I'm not actually sure. I think somebody talked about like Hester Peirce was like, somebody that was floated. And I think she came out saying that she would not be interested in kind of a lead role. We've heard from folks like Mark Ueda. Maybe he is a contender. I'm not sure though if there's like maybe, is there a poly market for this? I wonder if there is.
Ooh. I'll have to jump on.
Yeah, we'll see. I wonder who is our French friend voting for, and we'll have to put all our money behind that. As I'm speaking right now, Bitcoin has hit a new all-time high, and it is at 99,544 is what it says on my screen right now. So we are again dangerously close. These good for Bitcoin shows, I'm telling you, new all-time highs.
Good for Bitcoin is good for Bitcoin.
Absolutely.
Well, we do have some Polymarket predictions on Treasury Secretary, and that's 38% Kevin Warsh, 36% Scott Bessent. There's also, this one's interesting. This is who will Trump pardon in the first 100 days? And obviously everyone in the Bitcoin world is rooting for Ross Ulbricht. And I know we have clips of Trump saying, I will pardon Ross Ulbricht on day one, but that's a 73% yes. So I think that we all know that politicians are very good at making promises, but who knows if that's actually something that he will or can follow through with. But I know that if he doesn't, Bitcoiners don't forget.
Yeah, I think we've mentioned it on this show. Like that is such a measurable goal, right? Like he has promised, I will do this on day one, and either he does it or he doesn't. So like, yeah, if he doesn't do it, it'll be very obvious that he didn't do it. And we have like this weight of all these Bitcoiners now that are, that will be very mad if that doesn't happen. So I do think, I personally think he will do it on day one. But I mean, yeah, I guess take it with a grain of salt because like you said, Sean, politicians will be politicians.
Yeah, true. Also on Polymarket, there's a 54% chance that Bitcoin will hit 100K today. So just slightly on the side. Who knows? We'll keep it going.
Pretty bullish. We'll see what happens.
I think people just want to see it, and then we'll see what happens after that. But I think, just maybe we're just all going to buy until we get there, and then we can chill out a bit.
Yeah, I think personally, we're not going to hit 100K today. I feel like 100K is such a milestone that a lot of people are planning on selling at 100K, and it's just going to leave the price close to 100K, but not quite 100K for a little while. And it's going to take a little while for all the people that want to sell at this level to, to get bought out or whatever. And then we kind of go up from there. But I think it's going to take a little bit longer than people are thinking about. That's my not financial advice.
Yeah, I really have no idea because on the one hand, I agree with you, but then on the other hand, I look at all the news coming out and all of the potential for what the new administration and the new appointees means for the crypto industry and for the next 12 months, especially for the US. With Bitcoin adoption, it's very friendly. And we have been in such an environment where we don't have any clarity. And innovation, as we've said, has been being pushed off to other shores. So all signs are looking like it's just green lights everywhere right now. So I wouldn't be surprised either way. Like the scenario that you just laid out, I could totally see it happening. It would make sense. But then if it just like pushes past 100K and goes to 110, 115, I wouldn't be surprised at that either.
Yeah, one thing I was thinking about too, we talked about this a long time ago, was the fact that I think there was like FUD for a little while that like all the desks, like the OTC desks were like running out of Bitcoin to sell, right? And then once that happened, it was going to like immediately shoot up. And I feel like those conversations haven't happened yet, and I'm kind of surprised that they haven't happened with all this news of like MicroStrategy buying billions of dollars of Bitcoin. Like that has to come from somewhere. Like maybe, I don't think that they're market buying it. They probably are using OTC desks, but at the end of the day, like that Bitcoin has to come from somewhere. I wonder what those charts are looking like now in terms of like how much Bitcoin these desks have still, left before we start to see these big upswings.
Is it okay if I put you on the spot right now to kind of explain the difference between, because I think everyone is familiar on how spot works. You log into Coinbase or whatever it is, and that's what's on the market. But can you talk about the OTC market?
Yeah, I am certainly not an expert in this, but I will do my best. Basically, for the average person, right? They're buying on Coinbase, and they're buying on, they're buying and somebody else is, selling, and it's sort of, that's like kind of the market rate, right? If somebody were to come in and immediately attempt to buy a really large amount of Bitcoin, that's going to move the price up because that's just how markets work. OTC desks work on kind of a more kind of private, they have a more private order book. So you can basically go to like Coindesk has, Coinbase has this, where a large corporation, for example, they're not logging on to Coinbase.com and like trying to buy Bitcoin, right? It's kind of a more private kind of backdoor kind of deal, where they're going to these desks and saying, hey, I want to buy, $1 billion worth of Bitcoin. And Coinbase is giving them a price, and they're buying it, and it's kind of just happening on the back end based on the Bitcoin that Coinbase sort of has on hand. So it's sort of a price that's kind of agreed. It's kind of like an under the table deal essentially of Bitcoin. So these OTC purchases don't really move the markets like market purchases do. That's my best my best explanation of that.
Nice, man. Yeah, that's great. Well, do you want to? I know we're going to come back to like White House stuff, but do you want to get to the other things first?
Yeah. We can jump around, but yeah, the next thing that we have here, I just wanted to highlight because I thought it was just a big deal. Definitely something that's worth talking about is Runes. It happened in Sunday, so it feels like a long time ago, but Runes officially flipped BRC20 to become the #1 fungible token standard on Bitcoin. That's a tweet from ord.io. And yeah, so the Runes market cap has officially overtaken the BRC20 market cap. And Runes is now on top in terms of token standard on Bitcoin.
Do you remember? Could you talk about early days and how BRC20s came to be?
Gosh, I remember talking to. I'm trying to remember early days of BRC20. I didn't get too involved with BRC20. I remember hearing about it. I think there was like a brc20.com or something like sketchy website that you could go to like help you mint them. There was no infrastructure or hardly any infrastructure at the time. But BRC20 is basically a token standard that is all based on JSON files that are inscribed as ordinals. So it's a pretty clunky, overall kind of standard. It's a very resource intensive standard in terms of any action that you need to do, whether you're transferring or minting or deploying tokens, requires a new inscription. So we saw, at the height of BRC20, that was really, really hammering up the fees on Bitcoin. Because it was such an inefficient protocol overall. And sort of as a response to how inefficient BRC20 was, Casey, who created ordinals, came up with runes as sort of a response to how inefficient BRC20s are. Basically, he was like, if, he's overall is kind of against, against this stuff. He's like, he doesn't like shit coins. He's like, just wants Bitcoin. But he's like, hey, if this stuff is going to exist on Bitcoin, what is kind of the most efficient way to do this and to have sort of tokens on Bitcoin? And that was what inspired the creation of runes. So that was kind of the reason, I guess. So, we also have talked about, though, on the show that, the more technologically advanced, something doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be the winner overall, right? Like, at the end of the day, you just need users to be using it. We've had on Leather Lounge, we had folks like Butoshi talking about meme coins and, saying that, is even like the network that it's on, does that make a difference? Or is it really just the power of the meme coin itself that makes a difference? So the one thing that has really fueled this big run up with runes is Dog. Dog Go to the Moon on runes. That had a really big surge over the past couple of weeks. It's been listed on a couple more kind of larger exchanges, which has really fueled the run up there. And because Dog is kind of one of the larger runes by market cap, when Dog goes up, all of runes goes up, and that's kind of what we've seen. So definitely that is what has caused the big run up on runes. And I don't know, maybe I don't pay enough attention to what's going on with BRC20, but I feel like there hasn't really been a lot of news on BRC20 lately. So I think that's why, there's just a lot more interest in runes at the moment, and that is why we're seeing this flippening.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of communities, transferring their BRC20s to runes, which I think makes sense.
Yeah, we've certainly seen that. So that's definitely a sign that that people are maybe preferring runes over BRC20.
So there's a couple things. First, I've just been checking out the comments and some of these posts, and Leonidas, who's obviously a huge dog promoter, congratulated Casey and basically said your 3 principles has paid off. So embracing open source development practices, squeezing out every drop of on-chain efficiency possible, and going as Bitcoin native as possible by leveraging its existing U2XO model. And so sometimes I'm wondering, is it really that, or is it just, some really influential voices are I like runes, I'm going to build on runes, and that's sort of where the community goes. It's hard to know, but that's kind of what comes to mind.
Yeah,
that's a good.
Go ahead, Sean.
Well, yeah, I see where you're coming from, and I think about this a lot because as much as I like to think that the tech matters, oftentimes it doesn't, especially with meme things. But this is something that Butoshi was talking about on one of the Leather Lounge episodes, is that it seems like, you have every different chain is kind of like a different world, and there's a different unique culture to it. And Bitcoin culture tends to be a little bit more, I don't know if he used the word sophisticated, but something like that, right? And so I would see it making sense that people in the Bitcoin ecosystem who are doing, shit coins on Bitcoin would be, I could see how runes would be a little bit more appealing to them, to BRC20s. So the migration makes sense to me because of the, it's just more sound technologically.
Yeah, I don't know. I have maybe a slightly more cynical take. I don't think runes is successful because of it being open and fair and blah blah blah. Because BRC20 also is that. I don't know. I don't see it as that. I think it's more kind of just the fact that, this is another post that Leonidas made this week, I think, which is if you went to an average person and you asked them, would you rather have a dog coin on Bitcoin or a dog coin on Solana or a dog coin on Ethereum? Which one do you think that they would pick? And I think that they would pick Bitcoin, but not because Bitcoin is the most decentralized and blah, 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 blah. it's because Bitcoin is just a household name compared to Ethereum and Solana. So I think it's just the fact that it is more popular, and that's why people would pick it. So I don't think I don't think Runes is winning because of its like decentralized nature, because they're both on Bitcoin. I just think I don't know. I think it's just because like these Bitcoin protocols are taking off.
Agreed. Also, something we've been seeing this week on Twitter is people wanting to consolidate Runes and BRC20 just into one term of Bitcoin meme coins. Just simplify it, and kind of like abstract away some of the technical. I think this is kind of like a move for more broader adoption, but yeah, I thought that was a pretty cool move.
Yeah, that's a good point, Kate. I saw that as well. I think it is a good move also. It's hard for like a decentralized ecosystem like Bitcoin to come up with like a to like agree on like on a marketing side, right? Like, how are we going to talk about meme coins on Bitcoin? So to say like, yeah, meme coins on Bitcoin, art on Bitcoin, for everybody to sort of kind of rally around that versus getting into the weeds with what standard is it and blah 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 blah. I agree, totally a good move. Well, let's move on. Yeah, we have more to talk about, kind of getting back into some of the Bitcoin allocation stuff. We talked about MicroStrategy already, but I wanted to bring this up because we've talked a few times about this. So Michael Saylor is set to meet with Microsoft to discuss a Bitcoin strategy. We talked a few weeks ago about how Microsoft had put up a vote for their stockholders or their shareholders to vote on whether Microsoft should look into a Bitcoin strategy. So not a vote on whether they should or shouldn't buy Bitcoin, but kind of a vote on whether they should study it. And certainly, since that vote came about 3 or 4 weeks ago, we've seen so many new public companies come into the space, so much development happen kind of in the public markets on Bitcoin. So certainly seems like a good time, for that vote to come out. And then, Saylor was basically on a Twitter space that was hosted by Van Eck. And on that space, he said that he was going to be meeting with Microsoft next month, so December, to discuss a Bitcoin strategy. And that meeting was going to be a 3-minute presentation to the board. Apparently, he offered to meet directly with Satya Nadella, who's the CEO of Microsoft, but hasn't heard back yet. So potentially bullish. We will see. I think a lot is going to happen, and continue to happen between now and that meeting, with all these different public companies getting on and adopting a Bitcoin strategy. So hopefully Microsoft enters the mix soon enough, and that meeting is productive.
So, question. I think Michael Saylor is, when it comes to obviously onboarding and the MicroStrategy path of Bitcoin adoption, he's the best person to speak to Microsoft. But I'm wondering, and maybe anyone listening can comment in the questions here, who are some of the other like great Bitcoin advocates, the great speakers, especially when it comes to retail? Like, there's a lot of really kind of dumb YouTubers out there, right? Like with the comical, like big wow face thumbnails. But when it comes to genuine, smart, educational content out there, when it comes to retail, like, who are your favorite Bitcoin advocates?
Well, thinking of this question as it relates to like corporations, right? We can talk all day about how Bitcoin is, decentralized, and all the kind of benefits of kind of separating, money and state. I don't think these corporations care about that stuff as much as they just want an inflation hedge. They have these big cash reserves and they're losing money to inflation, and they want to be able to protect that. So whoever it is, somebody like Jack Mallers comes to mind. Yeah, the wife. Longstreet, you're not muted, by the way. somebody like Jack Mallers comes to mind. Somebody that can really speak to inflation and you're losing your money to inflation. But that's I think somebody that can speak a little bit more to the inflation side very passionately, I think would be the most effective to like a corporation, treasury kind of mindset. I don't know if you got rugged, Sean. Hopefully you didn't. Hopefully you're still going to be with us. But yeah.
And the clip with Natalie Brunell. Have you watched the interview? It's something that I've been meaning to watch, but I know like when she talks with Saylor, it's always really well done.
I have not. So yeah, I'll have to watch that. We'll oh, you have that pinned here. So yeah, for everybody that's listening, we can watch that. But yeah, certainly interesting. I guess we'll have to see what comes from this meeting. Hopefully we'll hear an update from maybe Michael Saylor. We'll post about it after he gets done with it. And yeah, we'll see what happens there. All right. Sounds like Sean's having some Wi-Fi issues, so hopefully he's able to get back in soon. We can maybe drop and come back, Sean. But we can move on to the next topic. This one's going to take a little bit anyway. We got a lot to discuss here. So, big news this week with the White House. Basically, Trump is considering this sort of crypto role. It's been kind of reported on some news outlets as a like crypto czar, and during Trump's Nashville speech, he talked about, appointing this sort of Bitcoin and crypto advisory board within 100 days of taking office that would help kind of design this regulatory guidance and would help to benefit the entire industry. That's what he said. So kind of, people have been talking a little bit more about, okay, if this advisory board is going to exist, somebody might, need to be leading this board. Who might that be? So there's been kind of some speculation, but just to kind of read some of the article here, it says, Trump administration is reportedly considering the establishment of a dedicated cryptocurrency role within the White House. Discussions are underway with industry leaders to define what this position might entail, focusing on cryptocurrency policy, but no final decisions have been made public yet. And in kind of the article, it says, a slew of crypto companies, including Ripple, Kraken, and Circle, are jostling for a seat on President-elect Donald Trump's promised Crypto Advisory Council, seeking a say in his planned overhaul of U.S. policy. There's a quote from David Bailey in here who says it's being fleshed out, but I anticipate the leading executives from America's Bitcoin and crypto firms to be represented. So there's maybe a little hint on who we might be able to expect on the board, which is exciting. And it says the Crypto Council would be likely be housed under the White House's National Economic Council, which coordinates and implements the president's economic policies, or a separate White House apparatus, which I guess two people said that were not named. Sean, are you with us?
Yes,
there we go.
I got you here.
Welcome back. Thank you. So it says it's expected to advise on digital asset policy, work with Congress on crypto legislation, establish Trump's promised Bitcoin reserve, and coordinate between agencies, including the Securities and Exchange Commission, CFTC, and the Treasury. They and other executives said the council may also include enforcement representatives and former policymakers, one of these sources said. And it says Trump's transition team, which did not respond to a request for comment, is also discussing creating a crypto czar role. One added that the czar would likely lead the council and that Trump's team is vetting candidates. And yeah, that's reporting from Bloomberg. So who do we think is going to be on this council? Who do we think is going to lead the way for this crypto czar role?
Yeah, I think I see Ryan Selkis's name being thrown around, and John Deaton too. He's really proven that he would be able to handle this. Is a really big role. Like, I don't think it can be overstated how much is at stake and how much this person can contribute. I think it's a legitimate position. It's something that we really do need, especially to make up for just the S show that we've had over the past 4 years.
I think the tricky part too is having someone who has sort of like the foresight to create the playing ground for like years and years to come, right? Because we don't want this to just be like a 4-year thing and then, it gets stripped and wiped away because it's like too extreme, it's too intense. So yeah, it's a super, super important position. The only thing that I can think of is I feel like there's going to be meme coins to come from this.
Pepe for crypto czar.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, there a crypto czar rune yet? I'm sure there must be. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we'll see some poly markets for this if there aren't already. Yeah, I think Selkis himself actually came out saying that he would not be interested in it. That was one of the first people that I thought of as well. Even I think somebody like a David Bailey. I don't know if they would choose somebody that is like, not coming from politics, right? Like a David Bailey, or John Deaton. That's certainly a great recommendation. I haven't seen his name, but that's that would be a strong one. I think it would be better to have somebody that is like less impartial, like a Brian Armstrong to lead. I don't think would make a lot of I don't know. I just feel like that's like he would have too much bias, right? As like CEO of Coinbase, I think it'd be better to have somebody that's like slightly more impartial in this type of role. Though he could still be part of like the board, but not necessarily the leader.
Right. And I think they want someone who does understand, like somewhat of an insider. So John Deaton really, he fits that. He's educated, he understands, he's kind of a Bitcoiner at heart. He's got the support of the crowd, right? But at the same time, he understands a little bit of the establishment. So I think he's got the best of everything. So I say he's one of the top contenders for sure. They could also go like, a lawyer route where they hire someone who has a lot of experience, as a lawyer who has, knowledge about and experience within like as a lawyer to bring that perspective in. But yeah, they'd be better served like picking someone who strikes that balance, somewhat of a politician and someone who knows how markets work.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very important, going back to Kate's point on sort of codifying a lot of these things into law. It's great that Trump can come out and say, "Hey, I'm not going to sell any Bitcoin," but that's a 4-year promise, right? Could happen that 4 years later, somebody else comes in and decides to sell it all. They could just do that, right? Potentially, I'm sure there's more legal things that are required there to make any sort of action like that. But you get my point. I think it's better to. It would be better to have some of these things written into law, and hopefully the board will kind of be, bipartisan and be able to, create a lot of influence and make these things happen. I know there's also been a lot of some talk about, I think Trump was very careful in his words when he was talking about sort of a strategic Bitcoin stockpile and calling it a stockpile instead of a reserve. I don't think that those are the same thing. And he also, explicitly, he didn't say that he would be buying Bitcoin. He said that he would just be keeping what they had. And I think there's been kind of some mixed. I've just seen some like mixed articles where people I think are conflating the two this past week. And I think it is important to, until we kind of hear kind of directly from Trump, I don't think that anything has changed there. So yeah, that was one thing that I wanted to also mention. I'd seen some confusion on the timeline of people thinking that the US is going to be buying Bitcoin, and rumors have been heating up, but they're just still rumors.
Yeah, Cynthia Lummis, I mean, she is making a really good case for not, like we said, step 1, don't sell the Bitcoin. Step 2, buy more Bitcoin. And Cynthia Lummis is really beating the drum, and she is educating a lot of people out there. So yeah, it's possible. And it's hard to anticipate and place bets on what the first, few months will look like in a Trump administration, but there's momentum. There might be something there.
Yeah, it's certainly a possibility. It just hasn't been confirmed yet. And yeah, I feel like we need to spend a little bit more time on Senator Lummis and what kind of that bill is. I think, Sean, that you had talked about it back when she introduced it in maybe July or whenever that was. It'd be good to have a refresher on that. Maybe we can talk about that next week. Because I kind of also don't really remember what was in that bill, more specifically.
Gosh, I remember from that episode, you were kind of just shocked at how much Bitcoin would be purchased. So, okay, it would be enough. The Bitcoin acquisition would be 5% of the total Bitcoin supply, which is egregious. I mean, really, so MicroStrategy has 1%, soon to be 1.5% of the total Bitcoins that will be mined. Her bill says that the US government should purchase 5% over 5 years. What does that do to the price? That's a lot. And even like that, even just talking about it, like we have a senator who is drafting a bill, even if it doesn't go anywhere, everyone's talking about it. And everyone is then thinking about, well, even if this doesn't happen, like, is this a good idea? Is this something that, other nation states should do? So that's another like crazy bullish sign.
Yeah. It all goes back to that game theory. That's a good point. Like, even if it doesn't necessarily pan out in that exact way, other nations are looking at this and they're paying attention and they're saying, hey, why aren't we looking at this? That's why we have companies, like Microsoft looking at this. That's why we have everybody's looking at this now, right? That's just what kind of happens when the price goes up. Is it brings all this new attention into the space, and then people end up sticking around. But I guess we'll just have to see what happens.
We will.
One last point on the crypto czar. I have seen, again, sometimes it's hard to know when things are announced, if it's legitimate or if it's just people hyping it up, but people saying Howard Lutnick, I know the three of us have talked about him, but he was named as U.S. Secretary of Commerce, and this might end up turning into the crypto czar role.
That's an interesting point. Yeah.
Because his whole thing is, he talks a lot about Bitcoin and tariffs. And I think we've shared a couple podcasts. He was on Pomp's podcast. It was a really good conversation. If you want to understand more about tariffs and sort of his position on Bitcoin and how he would bring it into the administration of Trump. I'm not sure if that's the best position to be the crypto czar, but yeah, it's just sort of the speculation I've seen.
That's an interesting idea. I've also heard on the other side that it's kind of like a throwaway position where it's not really going to be as, he wouldn't be, so there was the option of him being replacing Gary Gensler, but yeah, this position maybe not as powerful, but I can see what you're talking about with like it being a way of getting him into maybe not the czar position, like if they don't want to form that, but maybe he could still find a way of like implementing a lot of good change through this position.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm sure we'll have more updates on this as rumors continue to fly around, and we will keep everybody updated on what happens there. Let's see. This is a quick one. Coinbase. I wanted to just shout out Coinbase for making some Bitcoin related moves. So this week they had two kind of Bitcoin related announcements. One is that CBBTC is live on Arbitrum, so they're on an additional network. We got more Bitcoin on more networks, which is always great to see. But they also are dropping WBTC from trading on December 19th. So kind of based on some of the things that we've talked about, in the past with kind of the signers or whatever the term is for who is kind of custodying WBTC, it is, I guess, in Coinbase's eyes, too risky. And they are now kind of delisting it from their platform.
Yes, go figure. Something that they don't control is too risky.
Yeah, of course they are favoring their own wrapped Bitcoin alternative. Yeah, good point there.
RIP. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with wrapped Bitcoin because I think that it was the first. So obviously they have that first mover advantage. But with CBBTC, for anyone, I mean, that seems like the most convenient way of cheaply, efficiently moving Bitcoin around, but it's not decentralized. And so that brings us back to what are the other options, and that is the upcoming SBTC from Stacks. So we'll see. I can't wait for that to come out because there are so many different ways of wrapping Bitcoin, but there's a different flavor for anyone, right? Depending on their preferences for decentralization and security.
Yeah, I mean it's certainly convenient for Coinbase to be offering CBBTC and quite a big cash cow for them as well, kind of raking in all the fees that they get from it. But yeah, I'm so excited for SBTC. I think we're supposed to hear some news about SBTC soon-ish. It was promised to come like 4 to 6 weeks after Nakamoto going live, so we're coming up on that pretty soon. So I think we'll hopefully hear more soon. But yeah, let's get into the final topic. I feel like this is going to be a recurring segment on this show, which is more public companies adopting Bitcoin. So we want to shout these companies out, which is great. So first one is Cosmos Health. With the ticker is COSM. They have integrated Bitcoin and Ethereum, interestingly, as treasury reserve assets. And then in addition to holding Bitcoin and Ethereum as treasury reserve assets, the company is also working to accommodate customers who wish to make payments in cryptocurrencies. So shout out to Cosmos. One of those decisions is a really good one. The second one is a little questionable. We'll see how the sound money thing works out for them on the Ethereum side.
Oh, you mean ultrasound money?
Excuse me, ultrasound money. Yeah, next one. We'll kind of quick rapid fire here. LQR House Inc. Ticker is LQR. Their board of directors has approved a purchase of up to $1 million in Bitcoin as a treasury reserve asset and retention of up to $10 million in crypto payments. So they will be kind of keeping or holding onto the Bitcoin that they receive from crypto payments on their cwspirits.com website as well. So they won't just be buying a Bitcoin; they'll also be using it and holding what they earn. So Sean Dollinger, who's the CEO, says, in our opinion, Bitcoin's inherent scarcity and finite supply position it as a modern hedge against inflation and a safe haven in times of economic uncertainty. We believe Bitcoin aligns with our forward-thinking strategy and complements our mission to drive innovation across all aspects of our business. And then last one is Hoth Therapeutics. Ticker is Hoth, HOTH. Board of Directors approves Bitcoin as a treasury reserve asset. We have Rob Nee here, who's the CEO, who says, with recent approval of Bitcoin ETFs and increasing activity from institutional investors, it is a strong addition to our treasury strategy. We believe its inflation-resistant characteristics may make it a reliable asset as a functional store of value. I just know that he wanted to say that will, and like their PR person was like, you need to say may instead. And that's why they put that in there. Yeah. But yeah, more companies are adopting Bitcoin. We love to see it.
Yeah, let's see. That was 3 more today. Also, Semler, I think it was the CEO of Semler, had a great interview on Coin Stories this week, which is one of my new favorite podcasts. So that's worth checking out. And there was also in fact, I need to pin this. There was a great interview with Michael Saylor as well this week.
Yeah, we shouted that out. I think you were rugging at the time, but yeah, shout out to Natalie Brunell, who's just been creating great Bitcoin content for years. And yeah, seems like she's been creating some fire content lately, which is awesome. You know, one thing that I've been thinking about with like all these public companies adopting Bitcoin is, I'm not sure if I mentioned this last week, but excuse me, it's sort of like the fiduciary duty that a lot of these public companies have. Like, are you honoring your fiduciary duty as a public company if you don't buy Bitcoin at this point? Like, it seems like, you know, every public company should have some amount of Bitcoin on their balance sheet, and if they're not, like they're probably not honoring that fiduciary duty that they have.
It's negligence if they're not. I mean, 1%? It's nothing. It should just get off zero. 1%, 3%, 5%, sure. It's a no-brainer.
Every company needs a Bitcoin strategy. Doesn't matter what it is, but you need something.
And yeah, on the retail side too, I wonder how that narrative is going to change over the next 6 months as well. Because I still think that there was so much damage in the bear market and FUD around the energy usage of Bitcoin mining. That's still really sticky with a lot of retail. And we'll see what happens. I mean, obviously, let's see, we've been seeing increases in the number of Google searches that include Bitcoin. Obviously, price action is probably the number one cause of that. But over, with the new administration, there's going to be a lot more talk of Bitcoin as well. So with that, every individual as well is going to have a Bitcoin strategy, a Bitcoin position as well.
Yeah, and like you said, Brandon, with a Bitcoin standard in your company, you need Bitcoin DeFi solutions.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I think that's just kind of the next evolution, right? Like as more and more companies adopt Bitcoin, they're going to want to do stuff with their Bitcoin, right? They're going to want to be able to take loans out against it and do all these DeFi things. So it's just going to keep growing this ecosystem. And, that's where we have really exciting things like Granite to look forward to, which we'll be hearing more about soon. So yeah, it's exciting stuff. And that's probably a good place to end it.
Perfect. All right. Well, I'm just going to spend the next few hours just watching the minute chart on Bitcoin. It's like a watch. You've heard the phrase, a watch pot never boils when you're trying to boil water, right? I feel like if I keep watching this thing, it's not going to happen. So maybe I got to turn off the screen.
Well, we did, we didn't hit 100K during this hour, but we did hit a new all-time high. So we are, the past 2 weeks of this show, we have hit new all-time highs. That is definitely bullish. So we will see what happens next week. More all-time highs means closer and closer to 100K. So we'll see what happens.
I'm just going to make a little guess out there. I think next week we're going to be on the other side of 100K for the show. That's what I'm thinking.
We'll see. We were talking about it. We might need to change around our show because, with Thanksgiving is next week and I'm not sure if we're going to be recording on a Friday. So we might move this up to Wednesday. So we'll see. But yeah, Sean, I mean, especially with Thanksgiving coming up, I feel like, a few years ago, that was when we saw the big bull run start, right? It was after Thanksgiving and everyone was speculating like, everyone told their family members and then all their family members after Thanksgiving dinner went home and they bought Bitcoin. So that setup, it seems like we're getting, that setup again this year. So we'll have to see what happens after Thanksgiving. Maybe another Friday. We'll see.
Well, all right, everyone, get your Bitcoin educational advocacy videos ready. I know Leather is sitting on a whole host of really great educational videos. So if you want to refer your family members to the Learn with Leather YouTube account, that's a good place to start.
Yeah, and Kate is working on a thread that I think we're going to post next week as well. On we've talked about it on the show about like what are those conversations with your family members going to look like? What are some good talking points that you might want to have with those family members? So look forward to that next week. Oh my gosh, we have so much going on over the next few weeks to be excited for. So we will see you next week. It's going to be another big one. And yeah, have a good weekend, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening. We record Good for Bitcoin live every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on X. Please follow us at Trust Machines Co. if you would like to listen and engage with us live. Visit us at trustmachines.co for all the latest Bitcoin news. We'll see you next week.